Good afternoon, members, fellow chartered accountants, most welcome guests, overseas members, and our most honored guest of honor today. I am CA Raghu Iyer, and I will be the MC for today's special session. On behalf of the Bahrain chapter of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I welcome one and all for today's special session on leading in uncertain times to commemorate and celebrate the Kargil Vijay Divas. Few housekeeping rules to be announced. One is, please, unless you are called upon to speak. Rule number two, please ensure that when our guest is live and speaking, kindly close your video and audio at all times, unless called upon to answer. And number three, for all your questions, please post it in the chat box along with your name. I will address those questions during the question answer session with our guest speaker. With that note, to pay respect to the soldiers who have done the supreme sacrifice of their life during the Kargil war, may I request all to rise up for 1 minute of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. You may please be seated. So without further delay, let me invite our visionary chairperson, CA Mahesh Kumar, to give the welcome note address, please. Please put your hands together to welcome CA Mahesh Kumar.
Thank you, CA Raghupati. Jai Hind, Colonel Sir, and Jai Hind to all my brothers and sisters from Bahrain as well as from other overseas chapter in the Gulf and other countries. Usually, I don't find myself fumbling for words, but today, when I asked to come and deliver the welcome speech, I am short of words. Many of us here would have been in our late teens or early 20s when India witnessed its first post-independence war in the year 1999. Internet and social media were not so much in vogue at that time, and most of what we know was through newspaper and television channels. Not much information was coming through, as it was a protocol that sharing more news means more information in the hands of the enemies and would make our soldiers more vulnerable. Kargil martyrs have achieved a legendary status in our history books. Among the many stories of valor and sacrifice, some that stay etched in my own memory is that of late Captain Saurabh Kalia, the first of the many who was martyred along with his team. Reading the exemplary courage demonstrated by Captain Vikram Batra, who was famously known for the phrase, "Ye dil mange more," and whose valiant efforts in capturing point 4875 was crucial for India's win in the war still sends me shivers down the spine. He is famously quoted to have said, "Either I will come back hoisting the tricolor or will come back wrapped in it. But I'll be back for sure." Over 500 plus soldiers were lost in the war, and along with these brave warriors, many families lost a son, a brother, a husband, a father, and a friend. I'm thankful to Colonel Vembu Shankarji, who accepted our request to be with us today as we celebrate the 21st anniversary of our victory in the Kargil War. I have a humble request to each one of you that when you plan your next vacation, please take time out to visit the National War Memorial in New Delhi, which was opened to the country in the year 2019. Please take along with you your children and let them know the price that we pay for the freedom that we enjoy today. Do make your bet by contributing to the Bharat Ke Veer program launched by the Government of India to support the families of our brave soldiers. Lastly, if you're unable to do any of this, next time you come across a soldier or a person in uniform, show them your gratitude, your respect, and thank them for the service that they're doing for the nation. Friends, our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. I hope we remember their sacrifices forever and do the best that we can for their services. With these words, I hand over back the charge to the Master of Ceremonies, C. Raghupati Iyer.
Thank you very much, Chairperson C.A. Mahesh Kumar, for those valuable words. In fact, today's session is so special that with a very overwhelmed heart, I can only start by saying that stay safe during COVID, but more so, we are all safe because the soldiers keep us safe during all times in our border as well as within the country. With that note, let us please welcome Colonel Vembu Shankar. Thank you so much. Colonel Shankar.
Jai Hind, everyone.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai
Okay.
Hind.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the wonderful introductory speech by Mr. Mahesh. It's a great honor for me and a privilege and a pleasure to be part of all of you here at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Bahrain chapter. I saw your profile. I think you're one of the best chapters, overseas chapters across the world. Congratulations for it. And more so that you're commemorating the Kargil Vijay Divas, which is celebrated on the 26th of July. And on the eve of that special day, I'm here to talk to all of you on a very special topic called leadership in uncertain times. But what I'm going to do more so is about my journey in this whole process. And I'm going to try and take you through this journey and let me see if I can pass on certain lessons that I've learned being in the armed forces while training as well as serving for more than 20 years. So without further ado, let me begin my small talk about leadership in uncertain terms. But before I do that, let me request all of you to switch off your video feed because I think all right, thank you very much. Somebody has spotlighted the video for me. All right, so what I'm going to ask you all is to shut down your video because I think the bandwidth is a little less here. It's raining here in Chennai. So all the way from Chennai to the viewers across the world, I should say. Let's begin our talk today. So I'm going to switch off my video and share my screen. All right, I think all of you can see my screen. So Jai Hind, everyone, and welcome to this talk on leading in uncertain times. My name is Colonel Vembu Shankar. I'm an Indian Army veteran. I retired in 2017 from the Indian Army. And I shall be talking to you about this topic of leading in uncertain terms. So let me begin my journey, which was as a Boy Scout, as a 10 or 11-year-old boy. I was studying in Chennai in a South Madras school called PS Senior Secondary School, where I joined the Boy Scouts movement. And the motto of the Boy Scouts movement was "Be prepared." And this is my first exposure to uniform. And also this movement was a very, very special one because it taught me a lot of outdoor life, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of friendship, and also it taught me to do a good turn every day. So this was our motto, "Be prepared." And this is what is required in these times now, that you have to be prepared for any contingency. And one wouldn't have thought at the beginning of 2020 that we'll have to be facing such a contingency today. And also in your career, you will face many more such contingencies which will come. So be prepared was what groomed me. So I was a Boy Scout from when I was a 10-year-old till I passed out as a Rashtrapati Scout, which is India's highest scouting award, when I was in 11th grade. But that was my first exposure to uniform, which is also a motivation for me to join the armed forces. And that's where I joined, as you would see, this wonderful organization or an academy called the National Defense Academy, which has got its motto as "Service Before Self." I joined this academy as a young 18-year-old from Chennai with no armed forces background. And I entered the portals of National Defense Academy in Kadakwasla, where this motto was drilled in and day out through the prayer that we used to say every day, that, "Oh God, please help us to keep ourselves physically fit, mentally awake, and morally strong, and help us give opportunities so that we can do service before self." These 3 years, when I went in as a boy and came out as a man, and learned a lot of camaraderie as well as jointsmanship, because it's one of the few academies in the world where the Army, Navy, and the Air Force train together. So this wonderful academy, I made some great friends. And since I was an Army cadet, I moved on from the National Defense Academy to the Indian Military Academy, which is at the Dehradun. And at the Indian Military Academy, there's the motto of the Checkwood motto, which says, "The safety, honor, and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The honor, welfare, and comfort of the men you command come next. Your own ease, comfort, safety, and come last, always and every time." This was the Checkwood motto that we were drilled in and day out, that the country comes first, always and every time. The people you lead, their comfort comes next, and your own personal safety and comfort comes last. And in uncertain times, if you can lead your men by keeping the aim of your organization foremost, paramount, and then about the people whom you are employing or whom you're leading, their comfort, their safety next, and lastly, think about yourself. I think that's a leadership skill that everybody will look up to. But we were trained for 1 year at the Indian Military Academy with this Checkwoodian motto, from where I was commissioned into the Indian Army in 1997. And then I moved on right into this wonderful place called Kashmir in 1998. This is just 1 year of my service, and I moved on to this, you can see this wonderful place. This is a place in Kupwara, a place called Bangas, and where I had an opportunity well within 1 year of service. In fact, in the month of July, on the 1st of July, we got some information. I was deployed in this lovely place, which is at about 10,000 odd feet. And we got information that some terrorists have crossed over the line of control from Pakistan and entered into India. So we were given the information. I was a young lieutenant with just 1 year of service, right from the academy, and done my young officers course and my commandos course, and moved into Kashmir Valley. This is my first exposure, and I moved in with about 10 odd men, 10 Jawans, and we moved to a strategic point, which I shall show here. This was the place where I had moved on. We were at Bangas Valley, which you can see, which was at 10,000 feet, the photograph which I showed you earlier. And then we moved on to this place called Gormatnar Gully or Gormatnar Pass, which was at 13,400 feet. And this is a Google Earth picture of July, and this is the conditions in 1998. There was snow on the high peaks and also in the valley. And we were getting information that some terrorists have crossed over. On the 1st of July, we were asked to go there. So we moved there on the night of 1st of July. It was raining, torrential rain on that day. And we moved and occupied this Gormatnar Pass, me along with 10 odd soldiers. And also there were other ambushes which were laid across the ridge, which you can see, which is running from east to west. So we anticipated that we might encounter the militants. So nothing happened on the night of 1st of July. And we thought maybe this is some information which was incorrect, or maybe the terrorists have escaped, or maybe they have taken some other route. But on the 2nd of July, we were asked to search the areas which were to the south of this place, Gormatnar Gully. To the north is Bangas, from where I launched my operation. And I moved on to the south of Gormatnar Pass. And another party which were climbing up from that side, we interacted. And the other party was fired upon, and they eliminated 2 terrorists. And that group of terrorists, there were 3 terrorists, and one of them escaped. And we were given the task to pursue that one escaped terrorist. So the whole of 2nd of July, we had left on the 1st of July night with minimal, we just had our packed dinner. And the 2nd of July, the whole day we were involved with operations. These were uncertain times, difficult times. The weather was not good. We were not prepared very well, in the sense that we didn't know there were 1 terrorist or 2 terrorists. But that's when leadership comes in, you know. And these are certain things that when you are handling a situation, you might not get all the inputs all the time. You will get all the inputs some of the time, and some inputs all the time, you know. So we knew some terrorists were in that area. One definitely we knew because the other party had seen him escape. And then we moved on to the south of Gormatnar Gully. The whole day we searched, nothing we could find. And we got back to Gormatnar Gully on the 2nd night, again to occupy this height, Gormatnar Pass. And we were really tired. It was raining. We were hungry. And all of us were really tired. And there was also a little fear in us that, yes, there are terrorists in this area, and we could be involved in the firefight. Everybody goes through fear. If somebody tells you that he's not afraid, that means he's lying, you know. Everybody goes through fear. But it's how fast you overcome that fear is what leadership is. Similarly, in situations like this, everybody is afraid of the situation that's happening because of the COVID pandemic. But it's how fast you overcome that with your knowledge is what is important, so that you can meet the challenges of the pandemic which is happening, as well as some professional challenges which you might face later in your life, where there would be not a lot of information, there would be a lot of fear because of certain variables, but you will have to get knowledge so that you can overcome that fear. So on the 3rd of July, early morning at about 4 o'clock, it was still dark. The sentry, saw some movement through his night vision device, and that's when he passed on the device to me. And when I saw a couple of people going about 200 to 300 yards away from where we were, wearing haversacks, and it looked like they were carrying weapons, but I couldn't make out in the night. and I saw this through a night vision device. So again, the information is not very clear. So this was at 4 o'clock in the morning. But when we checked up from our headquarters, we knew that this was not our troops. So that was confirmed that we are definitely going to be encountering someone who are not our own troops. And most probably it was the terrorists who had crossed over and whom we were trying to get into a firefight or ambush on the 1st of July. So it was 4 o'clock in the morning, but I gathered my troops and I said, you know, these guys have headed to an area which we know very well, which is the Bungus, which you can see now from where we had launched. And as you can see from the terrain, after the forest, there is a lot of plain land, which you can see is now being covered with snow. This is a meadow, which I showed the picture of, and I knew they were heading toward that side. So it was an advantage for us that if we can wait till the daylight starts, then we can go ahead. So these are again uncertain times, but leadership plays a very important role because you know what you are good at, what are your skills, and which is what is necessary when you're leading in uncertain times. So at about 6:15, we started descending from Gormatnar Gully towards the forest, going towards Bungus. As you can see, this is the area, and this was the area where we encountered the militants. We were coming down the slope on the eastern side, as you can see, me along with 10 other soldiers, and we were fired upon by that blob that you can see, which is marked in red, and the eastern side was where we were. So immediately we gathered, and I had passed instructions that 3 of them should move on to the western side by climbing the ridge line, and 2 of them should move on to where the other blob is, which is the meadow, and we had called for some reinforcements to come from my base. So actually, effectively, if you see, we had blocked 3 escape routes for them from the east, from the west, and from the north. And on the south, they had to climb. So actually, they were boxed. And the whole operation took place for about 45 minutes. And that's where actually I encountered real fear when they fired at me first. And I realized that, you know, this is a matter of life and death. But then that's where my IMA motto came in, where the country's honor and safety is important. And that's where we said, okay, yes, we have to engage them and see if we can get them to surrender, which they didn't, and we had to eliminate them. And then the second part of the motto, which was to look after my men. So I have to make sure the safety is correct. So as you can see, there was a chance of cross-firing because we are in 2 different slopes. And that's where we trumped, and within 45 minutes, we killed 6 militants. There were 5 foreign trained militants and 1 Indian trained militant, and 6 of them were killed. The previous day, 2 of them were killed, and subsequently, the other ambush parties had killed about totally it was 13 of them who were killed, 11 from our unit and 2 from some other unit. So this operation was a very surgical one, if you could say, if I can borrow the term, because we could eliminate the complete group of militants who had come from across the country, from across the LAC, but across the LC. But more important is to bring the lessons of uncertain times. This is the first time I was encountering something like this. Although we go through such drills in the academy, but when actual live firing comes, that's when, as they say in Hindi, "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani." You know, so it's very. It was a new experience. But then, if you can bring back your training days of protecting the country, looking after your men, and then your own safety and ease, and that's where led me to do this act where I could, eliminate these militants. As you can see from this picture here, this picture is taken about 6 or 7 days after the encounter. On the right is the operation that we took place. The gentleman along with me is my second command. He was a JCO, Subedar Bahadur, and you can see from the weapons that they were carrying, and you can see the weapon which is right in front, which is the universal machine gun. This particular terrorist who was operating this machine gun was directing the fire at me and my buddy, and we eliminated him. My team did a wonderful job, not because we eliminated these 6 militants, also the whole unit eliminated the 11. And as you can see from the Hindu article on July the 5th, that 13 were killed in Jammu and Kashmir. And it says of how we were all spread out, and there was no, it says that they were planning to carry out something for the August 15th, and we had thwarted their attempts. If you can see this picture, you will see a lot of detonators and all which they had planned to use for the August 15th blast, maybe in Srinagar or some other place. So the operation was not successful because we killed 11 and the other unit killed 2, but it was successful because we didn't have any casualties. We didn't have a single casualty because we believed in this, that the more we sweat in peace, the less we will bleed in war. This is something which is very, very essential, that it's of no use if you eliminate terrorists if you've lost any of your men. It is very important that you should be safe and take care of your troops, but that will only come if you train hard. And that's what this adage which we are taught in our training, that the more we sweat in peace, the less we will bleed in war. So this was what was important in an operation. And in these uncertain times, I think this is the time that we should carry out what I would say is sweating in peace. This is peacetime, so sweat now, train now, so that a situation like this, when it comes up, we can be able to encounter it well. So I was awarded the Shaurya Chakra for this action. This was awarded by the President of India. It was a very proud moment for me. This was in 2000 when Rashtrapati K.R. Narayanan presented this award to me. And this was for leading my troops unscathed. We came out unscathed, and Shaurya Chakra is the 3rd highest gallantry award. And I always dedicate this award to the troops who participated along with me, and we came out unscathed. So that was my learning from these uncertain times. So what can you take away from this particular episode is, since you are not fighting militants, but what you can do is to train. If you're a good leader, make sure that your troops, that is your employees or the people who work for you, they train well, and your own skills you should try and develop so that you can encounter such contingencies later. And these are difficult times. The pandemic has really brought out a shift in our mindset. So this is the time that we can train well, use the time to train well. Another thing that I can bring out a lesson from the operation is to reorient yourself. There would have been certain goals that you'd have set, also because of the pandemic and because of the quarantine and being in isolation, like how we have reoriented now. It would have been great if I could come live to Bahrain, to Manama, to talk to all of you live, but we are doing this over video conferencing, so this is the time that you can reorient yourself. And this is what I learned from my operation, that if you have to lead in uncertain times, you will have to reorient yourself, look at new goals, look at new strategies, look at better tactics to make sure that your strategies are met. But more important, what is in your hands is to train well. All right. So that was what I could tell you from this particular operation. But then I also have got a lot of hobbies that I have been pursuing, although I have been in the armed forces. But as a kid, I was an autograph collector, and I've been collecting autographs for over 35 years now. As you would see on the screen, I am with, I'm sure all of you would recognize who these two celebrities are. I'm talking about the celebrity in Bandgala. No, I'm just joking. I'm talking about Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan. So these are some celebrities I've met, and a lot of lessons I've learned from this meeting these celebrities and getting their autographs. This is from your business world. You can see Mukesh Ambani and Mrs. Neeta Ambani. People who follow cricket, would know that, yes, I am standing next to God. That's Sachin Tendulkar. And people who follow football, which is, I think, popular in Bahrain, you can see Messi, and of course, one of the greatest sportsmen ever, Pele, and I'm taking their autograph. And also in this process, I got to meet this cricketer who many of them like. I don't know whether you're all supporters of Dhoni. So if you're a supporter, send it to me on chat. Say, yes, you're a supporter of Dhoni, or you like Dhoni as a cricketer. So here is a person whom I met in 2010. We built a great rapport right in our first meeting, and a lot of lessons of leading in uncertain times I've learned from MS. MS has been a great influence in my way of thinking in life. Also, I had a tenure in Bhutan from 2006 to 8, where they follow a policy of gross national happiness. That also played a great influence into my mindset. But yes, definitely meeting MS Dhoni in 2010. Maragata Valli says, yes, MSD is my God. Yes, Sachin fans are going to be very, very, disappointed by that. Yeah. So MSD is a human, and he's a special human, and I learned a lot of things from him. So I got to meet him in 2010, and in 2011, I had a great opportunity of meeting him right after India winning the World Cup. In fact, I carried his man of the match trophy from the hotel lobby to his room. I saw him shave off his head, and it was a great moment. The whole night we spent together with a lot of friends, and we recounted. We didn't talk about cricket, but how it was a sapping experience for MS to lead the team. We exchanged some notes and how he was feeling and things like that. And we took this picture. This is a wonderful picture of MS and I holding the trophy. And then later, later in the day, on the 3rd of April, I got to take this picture holding his medal, sitting on his room. And I was very excited to have this picture and meet MS Dhoni. I was in cloud 9. I left the room at about 5:30 in the morning, and I headed straight into the business center and sent this picture to a lot of my friends over email, saying that, I was with MS Dhoni and the whole night, and because people didn't know. And I think my cell phone died, and I was not in a mood to talk to anyone when I was with the team, And at 7 o'clock or something, I sent this picture to my friends. And at 8:30 in the morning on the 3rd of April, I started getting a lot of calls from friends saying that, hey, Shankar, what a picture. You're there on TV. I said, what's on TV? And I was told, your picture is coming on TV. The picture on the left, where MS Dhoni and I are sitting on the bed holding his medal. And I was shocked because this is a private picture which I had taken with MS Dhoni. And this is the first picture the world is coming to know that he's, shaved his head off. Nobody knows. And there were speculations whether MS Dhoni has done it for some religious reasons and things like that. So I was, from a state of elation and happiness, I was very disappointed and very, dejected, because I felt this was a breach in trust, because I had sent it to my friends and somebody had leaked it out to the press, or, somebody had sent it to someone who would have sent it to someone else. And I was very dejected. And unfortunately, the sad part was I couldn't convey that to MS because he was sleeping, and his next engagement was only at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock for a photo shoot. So I couldn't even, even go and say sorry to him. But we had coordinated that night he was supposed to travel to Bombay and I was supposed to travel to Chennai. We will go to the airport together. So I got an opportunity to meet him just before we left for the airport. And I said, MS, I'm very, very sorry. This is what has happened. There's been a picture of you and me, and this is the picture that we took. He said, what's happened? I said, this has come in all the TV channels and it says that's an exclusive picture. He says, which TV channel is this? And I said, this is, I don't know which channel it was. It was some, not a very reputable channel, I think some India TV or something. But he said, India TV is calling it an exclusive picture, although they have just, picked it up from somewhere. And he said, sir, why are you watching India TV? I said, it came. You see, I am the man who's supposed to be effective, and I have not watched India TV. And the control is in your hand. Like this picture that you can see. This is CSK winning the semi-finals in IPL 2018. You can see everybody is gung ho, and there is MS Dhoni who's calm and quiet. And he said, the control is in your hand. The control to watch whether India TV or not is in your hand. The remote control is in your hand. He says, I have not watched the channel, so I am not perturbed. You have watched the channel, that's why you're perturbed. And also, not to watch the channel is in your hands. So this is an amazing, amazing, lesson that I learned from him, how to control the controllables. In uncertain times, this is a very, very key mantra if you're going to be a leader, because there's going to be a lot of uncontrollable stuff, and you cannot be catering for those things. Do what you can, control the controllable. And in uncertain times, there would be employees who need to be maybe eased off from the organization. There might be some salary cuts, there might be some downsizing, there might be some other difficulties. What you can do it. What is in your control. So this is a very, very important mantra for leadership in uncertain times. Control the controllables, which I learned from my friend, and I would say somebody that I have learned a lot from, MS Dhoni, who Mr. Vivek Modi says will be remembered as best Indian captain. Well, that's a point to be debated, but that's what prompted me to help in his cause of him joining the armed forces. The army gave him a rank, honorary lieutenant colonel's rank, and I was very, very fortunate to be part of the ceremony when he was given the rank. And he has done amazing stuff for the army, being a great a face, and he's participated in many exercises with the troops along with his unit. He's also done the para jumps with the troops. So this is something that I learned from him, and he's displayed many more qualities, because cricket is a game of uncertainty, especially the shorter format of the game. So he has to take decisions. So this is something that one, as a leader, you can train and practice so that you take more and more decisions. The more decisions you take, the more chances of it being correct will be there. That's what he says. He says, I take the decisions. Right or wrong, things will happen. But the more decisions you take, the chances of it being correct are more. So that's something that I've learned, that leadership in uncertain terms, take decisions. So I moved on. I served in the army for 20 years from 1997 to 2017. While I was serving, I lost about 28 of my course mates, whose pictures you can see on the right. These course mates of mine who have trained with me in NDA and IMA, they've lost their lives in operations and in non-operational circumstances. You can see the picture of Manoj Pandey, who's a Paramveer Chakra. He's my course mate. Of Hanifuddin, of Anuj Nayyar, who are both Mahavir Chakras, Veer Chakras. Of Dara Shivkar, all four of them lost their lives, sacrificed their lives during Operation Vijay, which popularly is called Kargil, for which on the eve we are celebrating the Kargil Vijay Divas. It is because of the sacrifices of these course-mates. And also, I have lost 28 of them due to various circumstances. And that's when I decided, I was commanding a unit in the eastern sector, when I realized that the families of these soldiers suffer the most. As you can see from the picture on the left, there is a void. The man is missing. The soldier is missing. And he leaves behind a family who have made a huge sacrifice while they were serving, as well as during the death, after the death also. The challenges are many, which I shall talk about. So I said, okay, if I have to address the challenges of these families, who we call the next of kin, to a specific set of families, I must retire from the army. And I took voluntary retirement from the Indian Army after 20 years of service. It's called premature retirement. And I embarked on this project, which is called Project SAMBANDH. And this is a one-man, purely philanthropic project to connect with the next of kin, that is the families of the physical casualties of the Indian Army. So the army has got two types of casualties. The battle casualties are the people who die in operations, like the four that I mentioned in Operation Vijay or any other operation. But there are also 1,200 to 1,500 soldiers who die because of these four reasons: medical conditions, accidents, suicides, and fratricides. These are the reasons why people die. This is Indian Army personnel who, while in service, die because of non-operational circumstances. So I embarked on a project to connect with the next of kin of these physical casualties of the Indian Army. So I started off, these are the next of kin, which could be the wife and the children, as well as the parents of the physical casualty. I said, okay, I'm going to database them, identify them, verify them, reach out to them, make sure they get all their benefits which is due to them. And I found out that the challenges that they have are social, emotional, and financial. These are the three main challenges that the next of kin have. Financial, because they get less pension, and the corpus money that they get because of provident fund and things like that. You find new relatives who are coming in. The education for the children is a challenge. Suddenly the widow is in the mid-30s with two children and unable to cope with the education of the children. And then there is a social issue, because these widows their husbands have not died in operations. They have died because of, let's say, suicide, or maybe alcoholism, or maybe died in a road accident. So the social stigma carries on, and they are isolated and they're solitary, and they move away from a very, very regimented life from the army to a civilian life, suddenly coping with the different challenges that they have. And then they also have emotional issues. They feel that they are the victim, they panic, and they have a lot of worries in their minds. So there are a lot of challenges that they have. Generally, widows all over India have challenges, but the armed forces widow, especially of the physical casualties, have these three challenges of financial, social, and emotional. So I embarked on this project, which is a purely philanthropic project, to identify who these widows are, to database them, to verify them, to establish connect with them, to make sure to find out what are the challenges, and to address the challenges, one, within the organization, because the army has got a lot of schemes which they're not aware of, and also to reach out to the society at large to see if any of these challenges can be met by the society. It could be financial, which is the easiest, by donating money. It could be some kind of a mentorship that could help in societal challenges. It could be some kind of counseling through emotional challenges can be addressed. So I embarked on this project called Project Sambandh, which is why I retired from the Indian Army after 20 years of service. And I've identified more than 27,000 such next of kin all over India in 635 districts. This is just a one-man effort. I'm doing it all on my own. I'm not part of any NGO or a team. I travel about 10 days a month. This is all pre-COVID. And I get pension from the army. So I spend about 30% of my pension on this project, basically just for travel, food, and stay. I go and meet them. So generally what happens is they are very, very bitter that nobody has kept in touch with them after the death of the soldier. So that's what makes them really sad. And there have been a lot of stories that have been associated because of my meeting. Here is a typical story. This lady and the daughter, I had gone to a place called Sundarbani in Jammu and Kashmir, where using my database, I had identified that there was a widow who belonged to this place, Sundarbani, not Sundarbans. Sundarbani is in Jammu and Kashmir. It's a small village. And I met this lady, and this lady and the daughter were heading to school the day I went. And when I met the lady, I found out that she had lost her husband just 2 years into marriage, and she was in her early 20s, and she already had a child who was 1 year old. And from there on, she has groomed a child. She herself has got skills She is now a teacher, and the child is a very sharp child. And I spoke to this child. Her name is Niharika. I spoke to her. I said, Niharika, what do you want to do? Have you claimed what is due to you, the various schemes? They were not aware of that. I helped them out with those. But what I was more impressed was Niharika was so confident, and she said, Uncle, I want to be a cardiologist. And she was in the 9th grade, you know. So that really touched me, and I really felt that she's got the potential to succeed well in life. And sure enough, I had put it up in my social feed that I had met this girl, and a lot of people came and helped me, some financial, some mentoring. And sure enough, Niharika did very well in her 10th grade. She's got 484 out of 500, which is exceptional marks from where she's coming from. But sitting in Sundarbani is going to be very difficult for her to pursue her dream of joining, to becoming a doctor and to join the medical profession. So she's now moved to Jammu. There are some people who are looking after her accommodation there. Some people are helping out with the coaching and things like that. But this is all because of Sambandh, which is to connect, you know. So just because I met them, otherwise I would have just got the 10,000 rupees grant which the army gives. But because I met them, because I came to know what her aspirations were, we were able to deliver. And I hope she is in now 12th grade. I hope she is do well and be a doctor and one day be a cardiologist. And there are many more stories. This lady, it's very difficult to go and meet the widows, you know. They're very angry that nobody has come and met them. And also for a person like me to go and meet the widow all over blue is a societal challenge, you know. It's a social challenge. So generally I take some ladies along with me, some friends along with me. And one of the meetings I met this lady, as you would see, she is here with son and a daughter. I had taken some friends along. And when we went there, she was conducting some art classes in her house. So we asked her, what is this? She says, you know, I'm good at art. So with just the pension of about 14,000 rupees, it's not sufficient for me to educate these two children, pay the rent and stay in a place like Chennai. So we found out that she was very good at art. And one of the ladies who had accompanied me, she said that, you know, my daughter is a makeup professional, and she conducts classes, but her classes are pretty expensive. It's about $1.5 rupees just for the training, as well as the material is about ₹1,00,000. But let me ask my daughter, and sure enough, her daughter was very magnanimous. She sponsored, gave the training for free. And this lady, the widow here that you see, she got herself trained, she got herself certified. And today she can earn, and she can be an assistant for bridal makeups and things like that. More important is that it's not the money. The money she would have got just about 10,000 each for these kids. But what is more important is there was a scope of improving her life, you know, because she was a young widow, and now she is a professional, and she can thrive on this skill that she is got. So all this happened because one could go and meet them. One could establish the sambandh. So this is what is what I'm doing now, trying serving them, go and meet these widows across. This is the picture from Assam, where I'm interacting with the widows. These NOKs have a lot of issues. There are a lot of property issues. There are a lot of issues with their children. As a single parent is very, very difficult. So I try and help them out, connect them with the right kind of people. And that's what keeps me busy. And I travel across India. This is in Himachal. I'm trying to help out filling the form for this girl. This is in Nagaland, and that's in Assam. That on the left is actually Dehradun, and on the right is Assam. And this I also tell them to make a peer group or of all the people. So that's important for them, so that they can share their their challenges amongst themselves and maybe solve it amongst themselves. So this is a peer group that I am addressing. And so what can you do for Project Sambandh, and why is it relevant for the topic that we are talking about today? Both of them I will does the government Okay, I will answer the questions. What we will do is, what can you do for Project Sambandh? Well, first of all, like your president had brought out, Mr. Mahesh had brought out, salute the sacrifice. You can do this. Reach out and say, yes, we salute your sacrifice. You can be an outreach volunteer. Now, of course, you are across the seas, but yes, when you come back to India, or, you can even be a mentor. There would be their children who are studying for chartered accountancy. Maybe somebody you can reach out so that they can help them with the articleship, or maybe you got business houses where they can be employed. Somebody can help them out with the education. You can spread awareness. I will share my contact details with you, then you can get in touch with me, then I'll tell you how you can spread awareness. But what is easiest is, of course, the financial, social and emotional assistance that you can all render. And how this is important in leadership in uncertain times is, this will give you a sense of purpose. As in this times, if you would see people like Sonu Sood or Vikas Khanna, they are finding a purpose in life by helping out others. So this is a very, very important thing as a leadership thing that you can do in uncertain times, especially in times like this. You can help out people, and this is a group of people that definitely you can help out. Today being the eve of Kargil Vijay Divas, that's the reason why I came out and I could bring out and tell you about my project. But there could be other causes that you can reach out and help, because that will give you a sense of purpose, and which will help you enhance your leadership in uncertain times. So to sum up things, what I can say is, in uncertain times, what you can do as leaders is, first and foremost, is to train. Like in the army, I told you, the more you sweat in peace, the less you will bleed in war. Use this time because of the pandemic, because of the isolation, to train yourselves, to train your subordinates, pick up new skills, do time-saving skills. This is the time that maybe you can learn a new skill, maybe something to do with automation, something to do with your social skills, something to do with your human interaction, something to do with your accountancy skills, something to do with maybe our sponsor today is Tally, something to maybe to get your expertise on Tally better, to train your subordinates on Tally better. This is just examples I'm giving you. The second thing that you have to accept the situation which is there, and control the controllables. That's very, very important. You can keep cribbing and brooding over, oh, what's happened? I had planned a holiday to Switzerland, or I had planned a vacation to India, and we had planned this, but that's all not in your hands. What you can do, you can continue to have the same kind of lifestyle in a different way, same kind of connection in a different way. So control the controllables. That's a very, very important thing. And the third one, which I told you earlier, is reorient yourself. This is a very, very important thing as a leader. Your subordinates should understand that, yes, the uncertain times have led us to maybe think about different things, realign our resources, and put our efforts to using these resources to a new aim. So you cannot continue saying that all is normal. You'll have to reorient yourself. In the army, typically what we do is, troops units which are deployed in peace, when they go to the field area, there are different terrains that they go into. Let's say you were posted in Madras and a unit has now got to move to Siachen. We go through something called a orientation cadre, where we are oriented to the terrain, we are oriented to the climate, we are oriented to the task at hand, we are oriented to the weapon systems, and then only we are launched to operations. So it's very, very important that you reorient yourself. And this pandemic has taught us that reorientation is very, very important. And the last one, for which I explained Sambandh and why I did it, is something that I can talk out of my own experience, is the kind of satisfaction you will get by serving others. This is a very, very important facet of leadership. A leader is always a compassionate man. You cannot be a good leader if you're not compassionate. You have to be compassionate to your family. You have to be compassionate to your subordinates. You have to be compassionate to your colleagues. You have to be compassionate to your bosses. You have to be compassionate. And this is the time when you can realize that how much comfortable we are, how well we've got all the resources. Look at the people who don't have the resources and how we can serve them. So I realized this by doing Project Sambandh, by embarking on Project Sambandh, when I realized that this set of people, that the next of kin of the physical casualties, that is the Indian Army personnel who die because of non-operational circumstances, they require maximum assistance. They have a lot of challenges. And while serving them, I find purpose in my life. And that's what keeps me going. And that will improve my leadership facets. So this is something that you can, remember, just 4 things that you can take on from this talk of mine. That is to train yourself, to reorient yourself, to control the controllables, and finally, the most important is to serve. And the more you serve, seva is always part of our Indian culture. And as the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Bahrain chapter, I'm sure you're already serving a lot of people, but continue to serve more and you'll find a lot of peace, and it'll help you enhance your leadership skills. So Mr. Mahesh had already brought out why the flag flutters every day. This you can see. This is not fluttering because it's a GIF image, but it's fluttering because of the, not because of the wind, but because of the last breath of every soldier who's died protecting it. And so we have to remember that we are all safe and sound because there are troops who are protecting us, and there are a lot of sacrifices both by the troops as well as by the families of the troops who are doing so much so that we can be comfortable and lead a comfortable life. So this is something that I want to bring out, and this, let me leave it at this. And now I come to the end of my talk. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to start the video. So ladies and gentlemen, it was a great pleasure for me to talk to you. I hope you could hear me clearly and see my screen clearly. This is what I wanted to bring about, our leadership in uncertain terms. And as the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Bahrain chapter, you're doing a wonderful job like you've been doing, and continue to do so. And as leaders, there would be people who are part of the leadership bracket. Go ahead, make sure that your subordinates are looked after well, have the aim in picture, and I'm sure you will come through these uncertain times, and these are just passing times. Thank you very much for listening. I'm willing to take on question answers. I've seen some on the chat window. I shall go over it and see what is relevant to this topic. I'm not going to answer questions like has China invaded India, or what is the strategy, but I'm going to take on relevant questions. Maybe Mr. Raghu can help me out reading out the questions, or whoever's got the access to these questions, and I will take them one by one. What I will do is maybe I'll switch off the video and leave you with the screen so that we can have more bandwidth. So over to you, Mr. Raghu. It's been a pleasure to talk to all of you. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Colonel. Thank you so much for your overwhelming talk. Please, may I request all the members to give a big round of applause for this
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
enlightening and motivating speech by Colonel Vembu, please. Thank you, Colonel. Once again, your speech goes on to prove that soldiers lead a life of uncertainty at all times, and that is just to ensure that our lives as civilians and our families are safe at all times. And your conclusion on the speech that more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war, is very well accounted for by all the members of our chapter. Going further to the questions which has been asked during the session, let me begin with the question posed by CA Mani Lakshmanamurthy, our past president of the CA chapter of Bahrain. Is it not the right time to introduce compulsory military joining for a few years among young Indians similar to Singapore? Colonel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I've unmuted myself. I've heard the question. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to talk, the specific question is, do you need conscription like in Singapore? Well, the government of India is already talking about it. They're talking about some kind of military training before you get into government jobs. But you have to realize that India is a vast country with different economic strata. But the government is thinking about it. Whether it will be a good idea or not is up to be seen. But it has made me a man from a boy. So I'm sure the citizens of India can also become better citizens and better men and women.
Thank you. The next question is from CA Nath Venkatachalam. He specifies, can you please let us know how do you keep yourself busy, you and your team motivated at all times, even during difficult times, which is relevant due to this current COVID situation?
Well, that was the whole talk. The talk was all about that. How do I keep myself? 24 hours, you have to be busy, have a routine, have a good diet, keep your mind mentally awake, be morally straight, be physically fit. How to keep them motivated? Tell them that what is not in your hands, don't fret about it. Just control the controllables. Give them new skills to learn. And I think you will be motivated yourself as well as motivated the team.
Right. The next question is from CA Shaukat Lokandwala, our ex-president, past president of the chapter. He says that, can you please specify why you have retired before your complete term, if that is not too
Well,
personal? Yeah.
yeah. So I told you because I realized that I have to serve these widows of the physical casualties, and being in the army, it's going to be very difficult for me to commit my time, my resources to do my armed forces aim. It would have been diluting the work that I will put in there. So I said, okay, let me retire. I was eligible for pension, so financially I was a little secure, and now I have committed my 24 hours to this work. So that's the reason why I retired. Till the time I'm a little physically fit, I thought I could run around and do this work. So that was the motivation why I took premature retirement.
Thank you, Colonel. The last question that I have is,
Raghuji,
yeah,
Raghuji,
yes,
before you go, there are many questions. Before you go on to the next one,
yeah.
Colonel Sir, as the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I think it's my duty to just highlight what the Chartered Accountants body has been doing. The Chartered Accountants body gives a complete waiver of fees to the children of the armed forces who have lost their life, fighting the battles, for their registration as well as tuition fees. That's one thing the ICI does. The second thing, if my understanding is correct, as a part of our training, we need to serve for about 3 years under a chartered accountant called the articleship. I had read somewhere that if any of the student does any training under the armed forces, under the relevant branch of the armed forces where they can participate, 1 year training will be counted as a part of the articleship training as well. So these are a couple of things that ICI, as a leading professional association, does for the families of the martyrs. And of course, I just need to correct myself in my enthusiasm. I said the Kargil was the first post-independence war. It was not post-independence, post-1971, just for the records.
Thank
Raghuji, back to
you.
you to take charge of the question.
Yeah, before that, thank you very much, Mr. Mahesh. So this is what it is, lack of awareness. It's a wonderful initiative by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, who've recognized the sacrifices of the family and extended this waiver of fees. But unfortunately, people are not well aware. And I'm also a little, skeptic whether this is extended to even the next of kin of the Jawans who have died in non-operational circumstances. Generally, you find that all the benefits are extended to people who die in operational circumstances. The government actually takes care of their complete education. They can go to Doon school, the government will take care. But these physical casualties are the people who get left behind. So I'll go back, I will interact with you offline to see whether it's extended to everyone. If not, maybe it's a great opportunity. Maybe I have served my purpose talking to all of you. We can sit together and maybe come up with a policy where we can extend it to the children who are studying chartered accountancy. And this will be, I think, the great takeaway of my whole talk would have been, if we achieve this. Thank you very much, Mr. Mahesh. I think that's been very, very relevant.
Colonel sir, we will of course reach out to the leadership of the institute. Sorry, Raghuji, sorry. We will reach out to the leadership of ICI to first get an understanding if this benefit is extended only to those who lost their life while in a combat, or whether it is for non-combat related casualties. And if not, then of course we will try and try and convince them to expand it to non-combat casualties. Sorry, Raghuji, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson C.A. Mahesh Kumar. I have one last question. In fact, there are a couple of questions which are still pending. One is from C.A. Mani Lakshmanamurthy. He is asking if Sambandh has to be conducted by somebody, a decorated war hero like Colonel Vembu. Is it not that the government has to do much more for those families of the soldiers who have sacrificed their life?
Okay, it's a very, very pertinent question. So the government does. It's not that the government is not doing. We lose 1,200 to 1,500 such persons every year. So the government of India, through the Indian Army, through the Ministry of Defense, provides them pension, which is about 30 to 60%. Financially they take care, but it's beyond them to take care of the social and the emotional challenges. That's where the society at large should come in. The government can only provide so much. And like some famous person had said, why ask what they are doing? Let's do what we can do. Let's start with what we can do. So let's not blame the government. The government will do what it's trying to do. Let's try and do what we can, which is to establish connect. Do we know? I'm sure people who die, chartered accountants who die while they are, members of the ICAI, they will be looked after by the community, isn't it? People will go, somebody will go and meet the widow, and there is a social bonding because you're all a part of the Chartered Accountants Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It's similar, what the Chartered Accountant Institute is doing is irrelevant. What Mr. Raghu Iyer and Mr. Mahesh is doing is important, isn't it? So let's not ask what the government is doing. The government is doing what it can. And if we do, the government will also wake up and do much more.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Colonel. One last question, and that question is from me. Is there any role for chartered accountants in the Indian Army?
Oh, the whole of Ministry of Defense, all the audits, everything. In fact, leaders don't care about accountancy and audit. And when they become senior officers, then they realize how important it is, because you only got 100 rupees. And so if you don't spend that 100 rupees well, then, it's going to be waste. And you need to spend it on the right things. And that's where auditors are. So we have got something called the defense accounts, which is part of the Ministry of Defense. They closely liaise with the Indian Army and they train us because we are great at killing militants. But then killing militants, you need weapons. And to buy those weapons, you need money. And to have the money, you need people to audit you, So you need accountants to make sure that the money is well spent. This is government money. You are paying the taxes and, so it's good. They train us. Maybe you can train us more, starting from balancing the balance sheet to seeing what is credit and what is debit. We are taught all that, and we think it's irrelevant till the time become a senior officer, and then you say, "Oh my God, this is very important in life." So yes, chartered accountants can play a huge role. They are already playing a huge role. And now most of the troops are also part of the tax bracket. Many of them come under the tax bracket. They are very, very poor awareness wise on tax, on the benefits that they have, exemptions that they have. They can actually claim a lot of exemptions because of where they're deployed. They just fill up whatever is told to them, or they just copy from somebody who is, who's already filed it. So awareness is very important, So you can have specific programs where, you can teach the troops about how to file taxes, or give them certain leeway, certain awareness training on what all exemptions that they have. maybe they'll be able to save. They can start saving much earlier, so that during the retirement, because many of the Jawans retire very early. They retire very early at the age of 35, 36. So if they don't have good financial awareness and financial literacy, they can be having a tough time even after retirement. So chartered accountants do great stuff. That's why I'm talking to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Raghuji.
Colonel Vembu. Yeah.
I'm just taking the liberty of, being the convener and asking questions then rather than posting it in the chat box. Colonel sir, this is a pertinent question that comes to my mind every time I hear the news about any combat and any elimination of terrorists is the ratio of the soldiers that perish in bringing out 1 or 2 militants. I mean, every time we hear that a militant got killed, and there are about 10 people from the army who lost their lives. Now, we are all like armchair experts, and we sit here and we said, why can't, for eliminating one terrorist, why does 10 commandos have to lose their life? But what we don't know is, of course, what goes into the making of all this missions and all this, activities that happens. Do you think that the Indian armed forces need more sophistication and more need to be looked into that part? Colonel, from your 20 years of being in the army, what's your view on that?
Oh, definitely. See, if you see the ratios, that's what our enemy wants. Our enemy doesn't want to fight a conventional war where for every soldier died from their side, we might lose one odd soldier, or, for every 4 soldiers that they lose, we would lose 1 soldier. When a soldier and a soldier fight wearing uniforms at the place designated, then it's a different situation. But the enemy doesn't want that. The enemy wants unconventional warfare. And unconventional warfare, the efforts are less and the benefits are more for the terrorist. He can choose where he wants to attack. That's so it's going to be so disrupting, because he looks like you and me. He doesn't have any insignia. He doesn't wear anything which is uniform. He looks like you and me. So we are in a place where he looks like any other person, and suddenly detonates a bomb, or suddenly fires. So that's where you'll find casualties which are disproportionate to the numbers of militants. But this is not a game of numbers. This is not a game of 1:10 or 10:10. In the army, we never even talk about such numbers. The best number is when you have 0 casualties. That's the best number. That's the only number that we target for. Well, sophistication, yes. Finally, whatever equipment or something, the man behind the equipment is important. The man behind the equipment is important. You can give the best of Apple computer, but if he doesn't know how to open the computer, it's useless, isn't it? Or you can get the best of the drones, but if you don't know how to operate it, it's useless. Finally, what is required is motivation, great patriotism, brilliant leadership. That is important. Sophistication, arms, equipment will fall in place. We are a country which has more challenges than just the armed forces. We are a country where there are challenges of food. There is not food security. So the government, the country will prioritize what is required. It supports the armed forces. And but like I told you, let's control the controllable. Let's do our best with what we have. What are the skills that we can do? We can be physically fit, mentally awake, and morally straight. We can win more wars and make all of you safe and keep all of you safe.
One more question, Raghuji, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Colonel, I'm very enthusiastic about this armed forces, and I always, try and imagine how their lives would be, holding that AK-47 or the MiG or the machine gun, the LMG. And I know most of us have grown watching the movie Border. And even if Border gets screened on the television, I don't miss to see the movie from the start to the end. Colonel, as a soldier, as an ex-soldier, and now into philanthropy, what do you think, the education system in India should be doing about motivating the students, motivating the young youth to take up armed forces as a career? Because this is something that, I feel has been lacking in terms of, getting to their knowledge, what kind of things that they can do as an uniformed person. So Do you think enough has been done on that front, on the education front, Colonel?
Absolutely. Lots can be done. Start with home first. Again, coming to control the controllable, start with your own house. Like what you said, Border is a movie that you got inspired by. Get exposed, like what you had brought out in your introductory remarks. If you go to Delhi, do visit the National War Memorial. There are nearly about 25,000 tablets. Even if they know the names of 3-4 of them, there would be some people
Yes, good friend.
who have laid down their lives from their own region, from their own village. I'm sure you recognize Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan and Mukesh Ambani and Sachin Tendulkar from the pictures I showed. But if I show you Yogendra Yadav and Sanjay Kumar and Bana Singh's picture, who are the 3 living Paramveer Chakras, very few people. So straight after this talk, Google, find out their pictures, find out what they're doing, show it to your children. And the education front, if your spouses are teachers or your relatives are teachers, put this as an extracurricular or extra activity. There have been certain boards which have included this as part of the curriculum. Let's not wait for somebody else to do it. Let's start with our own house. Like what you said, visit the National War Memorial. Come to Chennai, go to Fort St. George, go to the War Memorial there. Come and meet me, take an appointment and meet me, so I will introduce you to more people. So be aware, there's Officers Training Academy at Chennai, a lot of people I saw in the chat saying that I'm from Rayapeta, I'm from so and so place. How many of you have been to the War Memorial here in Chennai, next to the port? How many people have visited the Officers Training Academy? And so reach out. If you are part of the school, tell the management that, sir or ma'am, why don't we have a career counseling where we invite a retired person or a retired person to come and give a talk. Tell that, motivate the people from your own house, then we can take it forward. Let's not wait for CBSE or ICSE to have it in the curriculum. Let's start with our own house.
Thank you very much, Colonel Vembu. Before we move on to the vote of thanks session, there is a session called expression of gratitude. And for that, I'm going to invite an individual who is, when it comes to the cricketing field, when he bowls, he is like Kapil Dev. When he bats, he is like Virat Kohli. And when he captains, it is like MS Dhoni for our chapter. He is the incoming chairperson, CA Ajay Kumar. Please, CA Ajay Kumar, are you there?
Yes, pretty much here.
May I invite you for the expression of gratitude? Are you there?
Yes,
I
yes,
cannot
I'm here.
see you on video. Please. Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, I think thanks for the introduction, but I don't think I deserve any part of that. I think so in front of somebody like Colonel Sir, it doesn't even matter, and I don't even know how we can even express our gratitude to somebody like him for the services that he has done for the country. I think really, from the bottom of all of our hearts, I think Colonel Sir, we would really like to thank you for providing us this valuable session. So I don't think we could have got any better person to grace the occasion for the Kargil Vijay Divas. And also, thank you very much for introducing many of us to the project Sambandh. I think it's something I don't think many of our people knew about. And definitely we will all look up to how we can be a part of this noble mission for sure. And I think when you mentioned the 4 points relating to the leading in uncertain times, you were actually giving an indirect tribute to your friend MS Dhoni, I think, because as I was noting down the points, and when from our CA days, how we memorize is taking one letter at a time for each point, and I was noting down, okay, T for train, you call for C for control the controllable, S for serve, and R for reorient. So that stands for TCSR. So people who are fans of MS Dhoni can remember him being a ticket collector in the Southeastern Railway. So TCSR, people can never forget. So I think by that count, people can always remember how to lead during uncertain times. I think thank you for that mantra as well. So I don't really, like I said, I think it's beyond our this thing, how we can even express gratitude to all that you have done. And you're doing such a great job, sir. And we thank you for that. And please continue doing so and continue inspiring us. I think this is just a great session at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CA Ajay Kumar, for all the humility that you expressed. And may I invite our dear friend, without whom this session would not have been possible. That is CA Karthik Jagannathan, whom we call JK. And because of him, we could organize such a beautiful session with you, Colonel Vembu Shankar. Karthik Jagannathan, for the vote of thanks, please.
I'm audible?
Now you're audible, sir. I'm looking forward to hearing your voice.
Thanks, Shankar. Thank you, C.A. Raghuji. Members of the BCICI chapter, members from other overseas chapters who have joined us, and my dearest friend, Colonel Shankar, and my other professional friends. A very good evening to you all. I thank the executive committee for giving me this opportunity, for letting me present the vote of thanks for today's session. And it's been a privilege to listen to Colonel Shankar. Any member of the armed forces is always inspiring. Inspiring as it was, I think there were many takeaways and lessons that we need to keep in mind. And I think Colonel Shankar, pardon me if I miss out the word Colonel, I've been knowing him since my nappy days, so I might even call him Shankar. So forgive me if I miss out on the...
You should. For me, you're not CA Karthik Jagannathan, you're just JK for me.
Yeah. So he beautifully summarized it. So I think there are subtle takeaways that we need to keep in mind as professionals. And there were very pertinent points indeed. His experience, his life's journey in the army, and the required discipline and commitment. Discipline and commitment, I think we need in our everyday lives, that we need to keep in mind always. We need to follow that every day in our lives. His experience handling stress and in pressure situations, again, something beyond compare. We also have that in our day-to-day lives, except that we'll never be in a situation where we'll have to face a live bullet coming at us. But Colonel Shankar has done that, and he's come out beautifully facing out those pressured situations. So, and finally, his service mentality is something that we should all adopt. At the end of the day, we need to ask ourselves what we have done to the society. In some way or the other, I think we should strive to contribute something to the society which has given us a lot. So at least let us start taking baby steps today, if not already started by us. Shankar, thank you so very much for the valuable insights that you provided us. The time you've spent here with us, I'm sure will add a lot of values to our lives. We wish your project Sambandh and all success, and hope it achieves much more than what you expect to do it. In this, I also formally take the opportunity to thank our backbone of our support, our annual sponsor, Tally. Our thanks also go out to our media partners, Daily Tribune, GDN, and Salam Bahrain. A round of applause to our MC, ever energetic Raghu Iyer, who came up with this concept of this Kargil Divas, and one of the reasons why today's session has been held. So, and a word of thanks for the members of the ExCom for their untiring efforts to keep us members engaged during these terrible, terrible times, and to make all these things in a very positive manner. I once again thank you, all of you. Thanks, Shankar, once again. Jai Hind. Thank you.
Jai Hind, and thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chartered Accountant Karthik Jagannathan, and the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India Bahrain chapter and other members. Thank you for listening to me. It's been a great pleasure, and thank you very much, Mr. Mahesh, and the rest of the office bearers of this. Thank you very much. And I like the T-shirt that the President is wearing as a solidarity to our armed forces, and let's keep them in our mind. Jai Hind, everyone.
Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you, Colonel, sir.
Jai Hind,
Thank
Jai
you.
Hind.
Bye-bye. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Jai Hind.